But you've got to remember, this game is so intense, that when it was no more, I didn't know what to do.
You'll see that Troy says of himself in the little bio that he's got there, he speaks about failure. There is no such thing, because what he has been able to go on to do is to guide and mentor and train and teach at grassroots level players and individuals who want to be successful in football.
We started from zero, counting flat heroes, to all around the globe with the flows of your heroes. Coming from London, a boy we no fear no. Fake imposter try play with the pharaoh. Crown the king, don't doubt a thing. Make sure you show the little man you're proud of him, so we could know the set. Took the older vets, laid the path from the start, now show respect. It's like we're living in a room full of liars. Who do anything to try and deny us. Yeah, and we see the whole system is biased. But we're standing on the shoulders of giants.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Carl, and also thank you, Nathan, for putting on what I feel is an absolute must event for anybody that's going through the academy system. So when I say anybody, that is not just the players, it's the parents and it's the family members as well, because you're in a very unique situation. And being in a unique situation, I will often feel that there's not enough support provided for being in that unique situation as well. So a little bit about my journey and story to make it quite relevant as to why I'm here and how I can support, I suppose. Carl's right. All I ever wanted to be as I was growing up was a professional footballer. TV was probably black and white in those days, but that doesn't matter. At the neglect of my education, to be totally honest, football was my everything. From the moment I could learn how to kick it to the moment that I couldn't kick it anymore. So I was quite a bright child, or so I'm told. I didn't apply myself as I should have done as a bright child. Maths for me was making sure that my team had more than the opposition team when we went out into the playground, to make sure that we won, because for me football was all about winning as well. It didn't mean anything else. I was lucky enough to join Millwall Academy at 14, which for someone in my school in East London was an unbelievable achievement. And from the minute you are in an academy, and I think it still exists now, you're put on a platform. You're adhered by every child in the school that likes football. You're glorified by some of your teachers, particularly the PE teachers. And because my head teacher was a football man, although he's a West Ham fan, never held it against him, but yeah, he's a West Ham fan. You were elevated. So I played for Millwall Academy. I was lucky enough that my centre forward partner was Teddy Sheringham. Some of you will know we played for the same Sunday League club. And so I believe that the next stage of my journey was already mapped out. Was fortunate enough in the first year to go out at Wembley. So this young man from East London was walking out at Wembley, the old Wembley by the way, and to do skills on the pitch before the West Ham versus Arsenal. Those of you old enough remember 1980, West Ham Arsenal Cup final. As a borough, we walked out on the pitch just before the Queen, who used to attend the matches in those days, just as she was sitting down in her seat, and we did super skills. And I was on TV, my first exposure of TV. So walking into school on Monday morning, although I'm only 5'5", 5'6", I was 6 foot something, and had the adulation of everybody. So you could see that my journey was all about praise, was all about being the next big thing. My first bit of rejection, my first thought that football can be something different than the beautiful game was when Millwall released me at 17. So the process was a little bit different in those days. They released me at 17, and it was my first suffering of negativity around the game. Yes, I lost football matches, but I always thought that, you know, you lose one, the next one comes along very, very quickly. Went to Crystal Palace for 6 months. Enjoyed a very good time under probably the best coach that I ever worked under, John Cartwright, who was the England under-21 coach. He loved me, and I definitely loved him. But John wasn't a decision maker. And someone made a decision that I wasn't better than someone else that they already had at the club. And so Palace released me. So 2 bits of rejection in a short space of time. Now, the reason I mention that is because, swinging it to the parents a little bit, my parents never watched me play football, ever. Not once. Didn't attend a training session, didn't watch me play. I'm going to leave that with you, parents, because you should know how much it means to your son to watch him play. I always say that never bothered me because when I was on the pitch it didn't matter. But every time I do a talk, I mention it. So obviously it has an effect on me. I remember Teddy Sheringham's dad was at every session, to the point where I thought he was one of the coaches because he was just there all the time. Now I'm not saying that that's the reason that Teddy made it and I never, but it's fundamental. It's a massive plus to any young person's development that they have the support and guidance of their parents. 4 years of my life was wasted after I got released, and I have to tell this tale because it had such an impact on me. So, being released by Mill, being released by Crystal Palace, 6-7 months of my first bits of rejection, the first bits of negativity around football, and I fell into bouts of depression. Not that I knew at the time, but you got to remember, this game is so intense, that when it was no more, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to go out and see my friends because they all thought as much as what I told them that I was going to be the next big thing. I didn't want to go and see the outside world. So I kept myself locked away. There were some dark days, very dark days. But also got myself into a crowd that I thought would help me because they wouldn't see me for Troy Townsend, the footballer. They would just see me as Troy Townsend, someone who could be their best friend. Now that crowd wasn't the best crowd at all. So got myself into little bits of trouble, and I'll share guns, violence. I wasn't the one doing it, but I was part of that crowd, so there was a connection with that crowd. Sorry, I forgot to put a mic up. And then I realised that, you know what, from being someone who could possibly be the next big thing on TV, I was wasting my life away. And you know, the only person that can see that is yourself. So I decided to start coaching. I decided to start giving back. I decided that I wanted to help young people who were living the same dream as me, but had the opportunity to make that dream right. Also helping young people who possibly didn't have the support and the guidance around them that I know what it takes to develop in this game. And that's what I did. So I started my own academies for support of young players, particularly in East London, who a lot of them, no disrespect to East London, that's where I was brought up, a lot of them were one-parent families. A lot of them do not have that father figure. A lot of them have talent that the football world don't really want to touch because they're seen as a problem. So that journey, which is important, and I may touch on that a little bit later, and I feel like I'm talking on and on and on. Is that okay, Carl?
You've got 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute. The massive thing that will probably relate to you in the room is I'm also now the father of a professional footballer as well. What a journey he had. Again, very similar to me, education was not in his repertoire. Football was, bouncing a ball was, kicking a ball was, living that dream was. Luckily, obviously, going through my experiences, we could support in another way to help him get through the process. Many ups, to be totally honest, and I'll allude on those a little bit later because that minute is counting down, but also many lows. And I suppose for me, it's important that we are there at the lowest moments as much as we are there celebrating the highest moments. But I'll talk about those as we go along. But that's a brief introduction. There was loads more, but Carl's put time on me. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction.